Well, today's the day. Let's get started before my Thanksgiving guests arrive in my territory. Hey there, everybody. I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. Welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Now, because today is Thanksgiving, let's discuss a group of people who were the first inhabitants of the United States. The Native Americans, or Indians, to be exact. They are considered to be people whose pre-Columbian ancestors were indigenous to the lands within the nation's modern boundaries. These people were composed of numerous distinct tribes, bands, and ethnic groups, and many of these groups survive intact today as Soviet nations, or sovereign nations, I mean. Now, over the years, there have been many interesting stories and legends about these interesting folks, and believe you me, viewers, most of these stories are indeed true. Now, the movie I'll be talking about today is about a strong Native American princess, which was given to us by the folks at Walt Disney Animation during the mid-90s, which is kind of historically accurate, but let's talk about it now. Now, I gotta let you know that I know it's not technically a Thanksgiving movie, but since you guys have been asking me to blog it for quite some time now, who am I to say no? So, released on June 16th, 1995, the movie is Pocahontas. Now, I'm going to try to be simple and brief during this blog so that we're not here all day. So, on with the blog. Captain John Smith leads a ragtag band of English sailors and soldiers to the New World to plunder its riches for England, or more precisely, for Governor Ratcliffe, who comes along for the ride. Meanwhile, in this new world, Chief Powhatan has pledged his daughter Pocahontas to be married to the village's greatest warrior. Pocahontas, however, has other ideas. She has seen a vision of a spinning arrow, a vision she believes tells her change is coming. Her life does indeed change when the English ship lands near her village. Between Ratcliffe, who believes the savages are hiding the gold he expected to be, plentiful, and Powhatan, who believes these pale newcomers will destroy their land. Smith and Pocahontas have a difficult time preventing all-out war and saving their love for each other. So, what do I still think of this movie? Well, I thought it was pretty good, and simply breathtaking, and had a simple and romantic story. Now, it's been a long time since I last watched this movie, and after having recently watching it again, I still enjoy it, but nowadays, not as much as I used to. But in order to explain more info, let's move on to Mustang Notes. During Thanksgiving weekend in 1990, Mike Gabriel developed ideas of classic Western legends such as Annie Oakley, Buffalo Bill, and Pecos Bill to adapt until he conceptualized the tale of Pocahontas. Pitching his idea at the Gong Show pitch meeting, Gabriel took a one-sheet color image of Tiger Lily from Peter Pan and wrote the title Walt Disney's Pocahontas on it. And on the back, he taped a one-sentence pitch of an Indian princess who is torn between her father's wishes to destroy the English settlers and her wishes to help them. A girl caught between her father and her people and her love for the enemy. For Pocahontas, Broadway stage manager, director, and producer James Pentecost was brought on board, where he made his feature film debut as producer. In June 1992, the filmmakers embarked on a research trip to the Jamestown settlement, where Pentecost first filmed Shirley Little Dove Costello McGowan, herself a descendant of the Powhatan tribe Indians. The trip also included a visit to the Pamunkey Indian Reservation and conduct conducted interviews with historians at Old Domination University. Following the research trip, Costello McGowan served as a consultant traveling to the Disney studios 3 times, and Costello McGowan offered her services free, even though Disney paid her a $500 daily consulting fee plus expenses. Additional Native American consultants were brought in to authenticate the clothing and war dance choreography. Later, Susanna Grant and Philip Lazebnik joined the writing team. Grant herself was selected by Disney as a screenwriter on Pocahontas after winning the Nicole Fellowship in Screenwriting Award by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences the year before while still attending film school. On board as a screenwriter, she was also the only one of the many who was contributing the specific vision the upper management at Disney had in mind, and collaborated alongside with Native American consultants. While working on the movie, Grant wrote to a specific story outline, and no scene was rewritten less than 35 times until it was perfect. Story supervisor Tom Cito, who became the project's unofficial historical consultant, did extensive research into the early colonial era and the story of John Smith and Pocahontas, and was confronted over the historical inaccuracies from historians. Already knowing that in reality, Pocahontas married John Rolfe, Mike Gabriel explained it felt that the story of Pocahontas and Rolfe was too complicated and violent for a youthful audience, so instead, they would focus on Pocahontas' meeting with John Smith. The filmmakers discovered that Pocahontas was around 12 years old, and Smith was, not very likable, in which producer James Pentecost confessed that dramatic license was indeed to be taken. When searching for an appropriate age for Pocahontas to begin her relation with Smith, Glenn Keane explained, "We had the choice of being historically accurate or socially responsible, so we chose the sociable, responsible side by increasing Pocahontas' age from a girl into a young woman." Man, talk about a lot of history behind the scenes, huh? Now, I need to say in my own personal words that the hand-drawn animation for this movie looks amazing and simply breathtaking, from the wind, the rivers, the forests, even the Indian camp, and the Jamestown fort. However, I need to point out that some parts of this film's story, true, is not historically accurate, but don't ask me to compare it, because it's best if you guys find out for yourselves on how different it is compared to history. Speaking of story, some folks have pointed out that Pocahontas may have been the inspiration for James Cameron's Avatar. And to be honest, they're right. It does seem to have a similar premise, except, it's a different genre. But if there's one thing I have to complain about this movie is, the way that the Native Americans and the settlers are treated by each other. Yes, I understand that they were like that during that time period, yes. But what I mean is that throughout this whole film, they've been called all sorts of stuff, like savages, heathens, pale-faced demons, and all that crap like that, which I find very mean-spirited and, racist. Plus, you can't call Native Americans savage killers when you haven't even gotten to know them yet. Also, the reason why I think Native Americans are interesting people is because of how they connect with animals and nature. Even their music is nice to listen to. Also, I've learned what Native Americans are like while I was in the Indian Guides when I was little. Even during scout camps. And during Annie Get Your Gun last year, I was, taken into a tribe where my theatrical sister Annie Oakley got adopted. Now, let's move on to the songs. which in this movie are written by Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz. So, what are my thoughts on each of them? Well, the opening song, Virginia Company, describes the English settlers and their mission to the New World. The second song, Steady as the Beating Drum, is a nice way of introducing the audience to the Powhatan tribe. Plus, it does get a short reprise sung by Jim Cummings. The next song is called Just Around the River Band, which is actually my second favorite song in the movie, sung by Pocahontas while she's canoeing down the river. The next song is called Listen With Your Heart, sung by Grandmother Willow. And in my opinion, it's a nice relaxing song, and it also gives advice to use your heart to understand things. Next is the villain song, Mine, 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 which is sung while the settlers are digging for gold, which in reality the gold isn't even there. Also, this song is the only time we hear about Ratcliffe's plan. Once he gets the gold, he can use it to become popular, woo ladies, and overthrow King James. But when John Smith sings this song, it becomes a hero song because what John wants is adventure. Next is the Oscar champion for Best Original Song of 1995, Colors of the Wind. This song poetically represents the Native American viewpoint that the earth is a living entity, where humankind is connected to everything in nature. This song is about Pocahontas' exhortation to John Smith about the wonders of the earth and nature, including the spirit within all living things, encouraging him not to think of them as things he can conquer or own, but rather as being to respect and live in harmony. She also urges him to accept humans who are different in appearance and culture, and to learn from them. The song also gets a nice reprise at the end credits sung by Vanessa Williams. Next is the romantic song of the movie. Well, kinda. The song is called If I Never Knew You, sung by Shanice and Cicada. It's sung during the film's end credits, and it really is a nice, tear-jerking song as well. This song was originally going to be in the movie, but it was deleted. It was supposed to be in the scene where Pocahontas visits John Smith before he is being put to death. The last song in the movie is the battle preparation song, Savages, which addresses themes of fear. It is meant to paint both sides of realistic light of the paranoia and hatred that would be felt towards the other side if they had killed one of their groups. When decontextualized beyond the characters and situations of the story, the song has been negatively received by critics, and I don't blame that. They deemed it to be racist and horrid, arguing that it encourages the listener to dehumanize Native Americans. Yikes. Plus, it's sung by two sides, Governor Ratcliffe, the English settlers, Chief Powhatan, and the Native Americans. Even Pocahontas joins in during the second part. However, not only do I find this song very mean-spirited, but it's also not really one of my favorite songs in this movie because it's really dark and intense. Now that we're done with Mustang notes, other thoughts, and songs, let's talk about the characters and their voice actors. Our main heroine, Pocahontas, the daughter of the Chief Powhatan, is voiced by Irene Bedard. She's an adventurous woman who violates her father's prohibition of meeting the British settlers and falls in love with Captain John Smith. She, in my eyes, is a strong and independent Disney princess who follows the wind and her heart. She also makes a lot of sense when it comes to bringing peace using bravery, understanding, and love. Next is Captain John Smith, voiced by Mel Gibson, who years later acted in The Patriot. John is the only one of the British settlers in the Jamestown settlement who is willing to befriend the natives due to his love for Pocahontas and acceptance of other cultures. I like this guy, due to his bravery and his taste of adventures. Next we have Pocahontas' animal friends, Meeko, a raccoon voiced by John Kassir, and Flit, a hummingbird voiced by Frank Welker. Meeko is one of my favorite characters in this movie due to his silly and mischievous behavior. He's also very friendly to John Smith and loves eating food and stuff. Flit, however, well, Flit's a great character too, but he can get annoyed with Meeko, and he doesn't like strangers, especially John Smith, but he eventually warms up to him later as he gets to know him. Next up is my second favorite character, Grandmother Willow, voiced by Linda Hunt. She's a speaking willow tree that acts as Pocahontas' guide to her path. Other than her advice, I also like how she uses her vines as hands, and she's also nice around John Smith. Next is another favorite character of mine, Thomas, voiced by a young Christian Bale, who's been in films like Hayao Miyazaki's Howl's Moving Castle and Christopher Nolan's Batman films, including The New World. Now, there's not much to say about Thomas other than the fact that he is a loyal friend of John Smith, but still a memorable character. Next we have our villain, Governor Ratcliffe, voiced by David Ogden Stiers, who has been in films like Spirited Away, Beauty and the Beast, Lilo and Stitch, and of course, Hoodwinked. Now, Ratcliffe is a greedy and ruthlessly ambitious man who leads an expedition to Virginia to find gold and other riches, which he wants to keep for himself so he can be popular. Unlike other Disney villains, he is based upon a combination of real-life historical figures. Though there is another thing to say about him. He's a power-hungry asshole, believing that the Indians have their gold and that they're evil savage killers. Gosh. There's also Percy, voiced by Danny Mann. Percy is Ratcliffe's spoiled pet pug dog. He's funny at times when getting into fights with Meeko, but he does grow attached to Pocahontas later in the movie. Next is Pocahontas' father, Chief Powhatan, voiced by Russell Means. He's the leader of the Powhatan tribe, and he leads his people with love, respect, and wisdom. There's also Coca-Cola, voiced by James Apamat Fall. Coca-Cola is a strong and aggressive warrior who was asked to marry Pocahontas. I mean, yes, this guy is strong, and he's also very serious. Also, I don't quite think of him as memorable as most of the other characters. I mean, he does put up a great fight with the settlers, and according to the chief, he fights with the strength of a bear, but nearing the end of the film, he is shot by Thomas while trying to kill John after he sees him and Pocahontas kiss. The last character I need to mention is Pocahontas' best friend, Nakoma, voiced by Michelle St. John. While she does look out for Pocahontas and cares for her best friend, she does not want her to get hurt. And now it's time to move on to my final words. Overall, Pocahontas isn't that bad of a movie. I mean, yes, some parts aren't historically accurate, and some parts are kind of mean-spirited, but on the positive note, the animation is beautifully executed. A lot of the characters, well, from Pocahontas her animal friends, Grandmother Willow, even John Smith are unforgettable. The songs are wonderful, well, except one, that is. And above all, it does contain a message about nature and bringing peace within the power of love. I give this film a rating of 79% out of 100. If you're looking for a classic film with beautiful animation, wonderful music, unforgettable characters, and a good message, look no further than this Disney masterpiece. Now you may be asking, will I blog the sequel, Pocahontas 2? Well, maybe next Thanksgiving, but we'll see. But that's it for today, folks. Be sure to join me next time. Mustang Power. Oh, and have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.